I know a certain feral cat, or a cat that was feral and who's now been housed for a couple of years. And you would think that this cat, because he was feral, he was essentially out on his own in the wilderness. Not really the wilderness, because he was found in a neighborhood, but when he was found, he was in bad shape. He had parasites all over him, fleas. I forgot the name. Fleas all over him, and he was really skinny and everything. And you would think that for a creature like that, that they would not be finicky at all. They would not be picky at all when it comes to, for example, food. That anything you put before them, they would gratefully gobble it up, because they know what it's like to be hungry, perhaps close to starving. But that's not the case at all with this cat. This cat is very finicky, and very I don't want to say manipulative, but very like gets in the owner's face and has a really shrill meow, asking for food, asking to be fed or what have you. And this is again, this is a couple years after he was rescued, and if you give this cat wet food, and he's not doesn't want wet food, then he'll just look at his dish, look at you, and like say, as if to say, no, that's not what I wanted. And then so if he wants wet, it's sort of like the Rum Tum Tugger, if you know Cats, or T.S. Eliot's book of Practical Cats. That's where it's from originally. If you set me in a house, I'd much prefer a flat. If you put me in a flat, then I only want a house. Something, can never be satisfied. That's this cat. Now, how does this relate to anything important? I think it's there's this certain counterintuitive truth that people who have been raised with, who never really wanted for anything. I'm not saying people who have been extraordinarily rich and can have anything they want, but people who, if you're raised never fearing where your next meal is coming from, something like that, then you have this kind of belief, which turns out to be naive, but it's also a counterintuitive belief. It's like it makes sense to think this way. So it's not totally naivete. It's also just, it seems reasonable. You look at people out on the streets, ragged homeless men lounging about on the streets, and you think to yourself, well, they must they would be grateful for anything. Surely they would be grateful for anything. And so it's like you angelicize, or that's a word I just thought up. Idealize, I think, is another way of putting it, but really it is an angelicization. Again, a word I think I've just created, where you look at these ragamuffin street dweller types, or anybody who's been who's on the streets, anybody who's got a scrap to get by, and doesn't know where their next meal is coming from, and that kind of thing. And you think to yourself, well, this person, is surely going to be grateful for whatever he or she is given. And so then you have this some naive types have this kind of notion in mind that well, he's no different from me, except that he is has had a rougher life than me for whatever reason. And I know the real causes of homelessness are the people who are mentally ill in many cases. But just putting that aside, just there is a certain street smart hustler mentality that the person who's been born in a comfortable in a family of comfortable means can or needs to misunderstands at his own peril, and that is that these people, something happens to them, whoever they are, whoever we're talking about, people who were exposed to these desperate sorts of circumstances. Something happens in their minds that maybe it increases their degree of shrewdness and maybe erodes their conscience, where it's like, I'm gonna get by on my wits here, and I'm gonna be better at manipulating people, and because I'm gonna find me a sucker, because that's what you got to do. You got to find you a sucker. You find you a sucker, and then you just manipulate them, and that's how you get the things you want. And so it's counterintuitive, because one would think that sort of person would be, again, just like some sort of something out of a Charles Dickens novel. Please, sir, I want some more. Just very earnest, very sincere, just wanting what is rightfully his, or what he can reasonably ask for. Wanting not to be just given starvation wages or whatever. But in fact, this sort of person, like the feral cat I was referring to, learns to be a certain way, where he'll say, "Is that all you're going to give me?" Or like my experience when I was in San Francisco. I know San Francisco is notorious now, particularly notorious now. All of California is notorious now. It seems, from what I've gathered, from what videos that I've seen. Anyway, it looks like they're just pitching tents on sidewalks in cities all across that state. You just can't walk down the street without running into a bunch of people living in tents. But I remember like even in the mid 90s, when I was visiting San Francisco, there'd be these homeless people who would have these attitudes, which would be like, how about helping out? And I say sorry and just keep walking, and oh, fuck you, just like they you would think that somebody like that in that kind of position would be really meek and really careful about the way he interacts with people. But in fact, these it was amazing to me, the kind of the contempt with which they felt comfortable treating people, and really it's the kind of entitlement. It really is this entitlement mentality that they manifest. Again, you would think that it would be the very opposite. You would think that they would be grateful for anything they got, just like this cat that I started out this video making reference to. You would think that he would just think, oh, here's a few bites of tuna fish. Thank you so much. But it's not. He doesn't have that mentality at all. It's just like, come on. This is all you got for me? Come on. Hey, buddy. Hey, feed me. It's time to feed me now. You need to feed me now. And of course, when it gets into the realm of humans, animals don't really know how to guilt trip you. They just know how to be shrill and annoying. But humans who go through this kind of metamorphosis, they just become these kinds of people where it's just like, I'm gonna, that sucker over there, I'm gonna juice him for every cent, it's because it's what I have coming to me, and I don't care, I don't feel any guilt about it. He's just a sucker, and this contempt, this way that they look down on people who are trying to help them, people who want to see the best in them. They just have no time for whatsoever. That was a real awakening for me, I think, as someone who never wanted for anything, and who grew up middle class and all that. I was sort of prone for a while to this kind of naive, liberal mentality of, oh, I've been given, I'm one of the fortunate ones, and when I meet somebody when somebody comes up to me on the street and he has less than me and he wants to talk to me, he wants to address me, I shouldn't brusquely ignore him. I should listen to him as a man listens to another man, and treat him with the kindness and respect that he deserves. Eventually, though, as harsh as this sounds, I came to see that most of the people who you don't know, who are going to come up to you and try to talk to you on the street, are, have some kind of, are running some kind of game. They've got some kind of racket. And and of course they can always guilt trip you by saying, oh, well, excuse me, I guess I'm not good enough for you. But the fact is that they're the ones who have developed this mentality of entitlement. And again, it's counterintuitive. You would think that it would be the very opposite. You would think that somebody who got what he wanted or not what he wanted, but what he needed every day, all the time, and never was in fear about going hungry or anything like that. You'd think that somebody like that would feel entitled, but instead it's like, you should feel shame. You've been given a comfortable life. What have you done to deserve a comfortable life? You should feel bad about having been given a comfortable life. And part of that, part of an essential part, I think, of learning to think for yourself is breaking out of that mentality, and realizing these things that I'm saying now, that I've been revealing in this video. So welcome anybody's thoughts or ideas. Tell me if I'm wrong, and it's okay. I'll just haughtily sniff and and read the next comment. No, I'm just kidding. Where am I? Anyway, thanks for watching.